Laundrie's and Petito's mountain road trip began July 2nd. The two coined the journey with the hashtag van life and posted YouTube videos of their adventures through national parks like Zion, Arches, and Bryce Canyon. Petito's father says that he knows that she was in Salt Lake City on August 21st because he ordered them food during a power outage. The last time Petito's mom heard from her daughter was on a call on August 24th when the couple was about to go to the Grand Tetons. August 30th is the last time that Petito sent her mother a text. Then, over a week later, her parents officially reported her missing.
You look like a pretty boy. They're gonna like you there. Come on, Daddy. Come on, Daddy. Bring him out. Bring him out. Oh, more bags. You guys should be ashamed of your son. Yes. Shame on all of you. Shame on all of you. Karma is a mad bitch and she's gonna come around tenfold, believe that. You gotta come and do the dirty laundry. Dirty laundry.
There's the scene down at the Laundrie House. You have some protesters that are continuing to show up by that little, there's the dirty laundries. And, you know, you've got artists, pictures, people step in. It's a high-profile case. We get it. Some people better call Bertolino instead of better call Saul.
Late this afternoon, Brian Laundrie's attorney released this statement. This is understandably an extremely difficult time for both the Petito family and the Laundrie family. It is our understanding that a search has been organized by Miss Petito in or near the Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. On behalf of the Laundrie family, it is our hope that that search for Miss Petito is successful and that Miss Petito is reunited with her family. On the advice of counsel, the Laundrie family is remaining in the background at this juncture and will have no further comment. Laundrie's empathy.
Exhibit 7 is your document on your letterhead dated September 14th of 2021 regarding Miss Petito, correct?
Correct.
Did you write this note? Statement?
I did.
Did you have approval from the Laundries before the statement was issued?
I did.
Did the Laundries review the statement before it was issued?
I believe they did.
What was the purpose in issuing this statement?
At that time, on that day, and look, I'm pausing so I can keep my composure because I don't mean to be nasty. That's not my goal here. It's not. But you represent your side and I represent my side. And at the time that this was given, my clients were going through hell. And I know that's a problem for the other side to understand, to even comprehend that the other side could be going through hell too. They had throngs of public with bullhorns. They had press. And to my knowledge, some of it was being pushed upon by your clients, okay? And I read their text messages in the discovery, and they were gloating all over it. Oh, let's get more people out there. And they were successful. And I don't fault them for it. They should have done all of that to find their daughter. I don't truly fault them for it. But from my chair, from my role in this unfortunate saga, I had to represent my clients. And they were being threatened. Death threats beyond compare. Now, your side wasn't getting that. They were getting sympathy. They were getting help, as they should have. But my clients, Chris and Roberta, did not deserve what was happening to them, and they were going through hell. And the reason I can pin down that Brian left on the 13th is because I said to Brian Gee, would you have come home? Would you have come home with what you saw on the block? I don't know if Brian came home that night, made a left turn onto the block and saw what everyone saw publicly happening outside his home. But what I said to the FBI Monday night or Tuesday morning, what would you do? Would you want to walk in that crowd? So on Tuesday the 14th, when the crowd kept getting bigger, and the anger kept brewing, and the hostilities were growing, and the death threats were coming in by the dozens to my clients' house, to my office, to my staff, outside my office, to my children, you need to understand. And maybe your clients never want to understand. This was a difficult time for two families. My clients were going through hell, and this needed to be conveyed. And I consulted with my clients on this letter, and I consulted with Fleener and Peterson out in Wyoming, and we all agreed anything needed to be said, because to remain silent would have smacked of indifference. Hey, we don't even care. I know. Look at your smirk. We don't care. We did care.
You kept silent for...
Excuse me. I'm not done with my answer. Counselor, I'm not done with my answer. You'll have your turn.
Go ahead. Continue.
So you want to know what the purpose was? The purpose was, in some way, in some small way, to let the public know, hey, this is a difficult time for two families, for both sides here. And the second paragraph was to let them all know we knew. We, being myself, Chris, and Roberta, in that small environment. It is our understanding, and I can tell you, I made a phone call to Tom Fleener, and I had asked him this. Do you know where this investigation is going? Because it was very fuzzy on the news. All we knew on our end, was that somewhere out there was an investigation starting. And I called Fleener and Peterson, and I spoke to Tom. You just have to be careful what you spoke to them about. Well, this is on there. And I said, do you know where the investigation is taking place? And his response was, no, man, we don't. We've been watching TV. We don't know. They think it was near Bridger Teton. And that's where we got the second part from, is that we believed, and that's what it says, it is our understanding that a search had been organized for Miss Petito in or near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. And the second sentence in that second paragraph is that Chris and Roberta were truly hopeful that that search would be successful, as was I. So yes, the purpose of the statement was written to let the public know, to let the press know, to let the hooligans outside of their house, to let every individual who was threatening to kill us, including, as I learned, some people from your side, on your side of the table, to let them know this is difficult for us. And we truly hope that your success brings Gabby back. And if that meant dead or alive, as in Reunited, that's what it meant. We were hopeful that she would be found alive. And the last part, Mr. Riley, is to let the public know, as I've said numerous times publicly, and I do not shy away from this, on the advice of counsel, Chris and Roberta were remaining silent. As any attorney, as any layperson who has watched television would know, shut up and don't say anything. I know in your world, you would have preferred that we stay silent, and that would have not been any good either. And as we looked at it, as though silence would have been indifferent, a total screw you. We don't care. And I understand that that's how this letter was taken. And I'm sorry for that, but that's not what the purpose of the letter was for. And now it's your turn.
To quote you, to remain silent would have smacked of indifference, but you remained silent for 17 days or longer.
I object to the form.
Right?
Say that again.
In your words, to remain silent would have smacked as indifference, but you expressed that indifference from August 29th until September 14th. So why this date?
I'm lost.
19.
Am I on the wrong page? 106?
105.
Sorry. Because the crowds and the hordes of people that were threatening myself, and more importantly, threatening Chris and Roberta outside their own home 24 hours a day, began on the 13th, and that's why this letter was written on the 14th, to try to tone that down a little bit if possible.
But you don't think that silence smacked of indifference from August 29th until September 14th?
I object to the form. There were two things with that. Number one, Chris and Roberta did not have any information to share. Number one. And if they did have information, it was very little, such as maybe the phrase, Gabby is gone. What are we going to do with that? And any information that I may or may not have had, I could not share either.
Well, Gabby is gone would have been helpful to let the family know that she was no longer living, most likely. And number two, that the phone call had come from Jackson. It would have given the family an idea of where to look. Wouldn't you agree?
No, I don't. Because if I would have went out there and say Chris and Roberta believed that Brian was in Jackson, right? And let's say he was in Yellowstone, you would be suing us for giving you false information. You would be suing us and saying you pointed us in the wrong direction. And had we said, oh, she's gone, you would have said, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? We didn't know what it meant.
You knew what it meant. He came home with her van. All of her possessions were in the van. She was not with him. You knew she was dead.
Right? Oh, that's you. Chris, I object to the form.
Right?
Chris and Roberta did not know, and anything that I may or may not have known would have been attorney-client privilege with Brian.
So how did you believe this statement was going to calm the crowd outside your client's home?
It was meant to convey what the Laundries, Chris and Roberta, could say at that moment, which was not much other than to let people know, hey, we're going through a difficult time here too. Our son walked out the door. We may not have known for sure he was going to kill himself, but that was certainly a suspicion in the back of our minds. So now they just lost their son. We didn't know what to do with that. We didn't know what to do with law enforcement, and we're stuck here in this situation with all these people outside ready to kill us.
Who was that statement addressed to? Is it to Gabby's family or to the public?
It was addressed, I'm sorry, you can answer. The statement was addressed to the public, to the press, and yes, I suspected it would reach the Petito family.
You were expressing your hopes, so I would think it was intended to address the Petito family, correct?
I object to the form. That particular phrase was a general phrase that we had hoped that the search would be successful. Conveying that to the public, to the press, to the angry protesters with their pitchforks and burning at the stake mentality that were threatening my clients, and threatening me, my staff, and my children as well.
By the way, you mentioned that someone on my side of the table threatened to kill someone. Who did that?
I don't know, but if Rick Stafford is honest, we'll find out.
What does that mean?
Rick Stafford told me explicitly,
Told you what?
that there were people on his side that wanted to kill us.
Kill who?
Myself, Chris, and Roberta. And when he told me that, he was so upset how hard it was on his side, how difficult this was for him to restrain. You don't know, Steve. You don't know how hard it is on my side to restrain these people from what they want to do, to prevent this from getting worse. My response to that, counselor, was try being on my side. Try being on my side when the whole world has your clients, who has your client's back, wants to kill us. Try being in my shoes, Mr. Stafford, and you tell me if it's tough for you to prevent your client from executing their desire to kill me and my clients.
You want sympathy from a family whose daughter is missing.
I don't want sympathy. I want parity. I don't want any sympathy.
Are you suggesting that what you were going through is similar to what the Petito family went through?
No, I'm not saying it was similar. It was different, but it was traumatic nonetheless. And it was instigated, in part, by your clients. And I want to repeat myself, Mr. Riley, because you may find this hard to believe. I do not fault your clients for doing what they did. I do not. If I were Joe Petito, I would have done the same thing. And I was looking for him at the beach last week because I heard he goes to the beach afterwards. I didn't know he went home. And if I found him on the beach, I would have sat down and talked to him if he would have allowed it. The bottom line is, this is not about what we wanted to. The bottom line is, this is not about what we wanted to do. This was happening to two sides, two families. I happen to be on the bad side of that.